Hello, everybody. How you doing? Welcome back to another episode of Bullshit and Video Games. We have Jerry again. How you doing, man?
It's me. I'm doing okay.
So why are elves always overpowered in all video games?
I think it's how we want them to be. There is an underlying perception of elves. Whenever they're depicted in movies or in literature, they're always bigger than life. They're always wiser, longer lived, stronger, even though they look frail. So I think regardless of what game you're designing, you're always going to have that thought. Even as the designer, you're going to have that thought that elves should be that way. And I think if you're intelligently designing your game, if you're designing your game for mass appeal, you would design it so that way is when people pick elves, that's the experience that they're getting. I hesitate to say noob pick, but a lot of first-time gamers to any game, they'll look at elves and go, oh, they're so cool, I'm going to go play this. And they jump into this one, and if that's the first faction, of the 4 people that I know that play Warhammer 2, 3 of them played elves as their first faction. Now, I'm not saying that makes them bad gamers, but it says something about the human psyche. If the designers know or realize that that's going to be the first faction a lot of people pick, and it turns out to be one of the hardest factions, they're instantly setting up a lot of their gamer base for failure. So I think we set them up in our minds that they're stronger, and if it's not delivered, we would be disappointed in the entire game. So I think the game designers, not that they have to design them that way, but I think they oblige.
Do you feel like it's because people think the race is cool that they play elves, or is it because everyone assumes it's going to be the strongest race and most people don't want to struggle in games? I think especially like Warhammer 2, people who go into the game are going to have the normal stereotype that elves are the strongest. They're going to have a lot of uncertainty about the other races. Mm-hmm. And so they're going to pick elves and be like, okay, well, I know the elves are going to be really strong, so I shouldn't have any problems with my first playthrough.
Yes, I think it's a bit of both, right? We look at elves and say, okay, they should be pretty strong, I shouldn't have many problems, but why do we think that? We think that
Legolas bullshit.
Exactly, right? We've been given elves, we've been shown elves in a way in our media that is always depicting them as superior, as stronger, as as smarter, as these eternal, amazing beings that we should aspire to be or look up to. They're these ancient creatures that have guided humanity. I mean, sure, sometimes you get different depiction of elves, such as the Drow, but even then, the Drow themselves are incredibly strong and powerful.
Yeah, even more powerful than normal elves. Yes. Anybody who doesn't know, that's Dark Elves from R.A. Salvatore.
Yeah, sorry. So they defy the trope of these wise and amazing beings that are friendly to everyone, these woodland creatures and all that shit, but at the same time, they are incredibly strong, incredibly powerful. So in most aspects of where we read about them, so when we see them in a game, we expect them to be. I would say that's kind of why, because I know that was the 2 reasons why I chose elves for my first playthrough. I thought, I don't really want to struggle my first time around. Elves are really cool. I tend to like their building art style, their unit models, stuff like that. It appeals to me. They look majestic and strong, and they are. And when you get to it, they tend to steamroll everything. You get the idea of these skilled elven swordsmen that, just light as a feather on their feet, swinging giant weapons, or these archers that can hit incredible targets from ridiculous distances while running, doing a handstand on a horseback upside down above a helicopter. Whatever, right? The Legolas bullshit, right? Yeah.
Like he can walk on top of snow without sinking in, shit like that.
Exactly.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Because that's the way we think of them.
If Lord of the Rings was real life, no one would ever beat the elves.
No.
No one would even come close to beating them. It'd be impossible.
Yeah. And conversely, I think, sometimes you look at, mind you, there are always people who buck the norm on purpose, but you tend to look at races such as the undead, and people don't pick them because, I think they're cool. They pick them because, they're edgy, they're dark, I'm gonna go destroy some shit, right? You don't say, I really want to play the vampires because of their marvelous architecture. Whereas I think, strangely, just the elven culture, the elven concepts of beauty and art is also what attracts us to them as characters and factions.
Maybe you.
Yeah.
But I'm certainly attracted to the idea of an undead horde. Most of the time I don't pick undead in video games just because I don't think it's portrayed in a way that I want to play. I've always wanted like how can I describe it? Sort of like a necromancer feel where you're a single magical undead type person and you sort of build up an army around you, and every time you kill living people you can raise them as the undead. So far no RTS game has ever really put that into motion. Like, imagine if the Tomb Kings, for example, every time you've won a battle and it came up on the screen how many of their people you killed and you won the battle, they ran away.
Yeah.
All of those people could just be raised. So, like, you kill 1,100 of them, now you just have 1,100 skeletons. Skeletal warriors or whatever.
Balance issues and nonsense.
Balance issues. You can have a stack of 40 dragons as the elves. Fuck balance. You can eat my dick, balance. There's no balance in this game. Yeah, you can have a stack of 40 star dragons. Talk about balance. And your lord can be on a star dragon as well. Yeah, so when it comes to undead factions, I love the idea of raising the dead of the people I kill, but no game actually goes out there and does it and commits to the undead in a practical sense and the way the undead would exist if they were undead. If you can raise the dead, you should be raising all of the dead. I don't understand why you kill 1,000 guys. How do you not have 1,000 extra soldiers now?
Yeah.
So that's that. Also, some people love vampires and bullshit like that.
Oh, true, but I find there's always going to be people who will pick that, but I can only speak from my experience. But I played a couple of different World of Warcraft servers, and most of the time you would find, Horde and Alliance, you'd find good players in Horde, bad players in Horde, good players in Alliance, but most of the time you'd find experienced veteran players playing Horde and the noobs would go Alliance. There's something in, I don't want to say everyone's, but I would say enough of a majority of people that gravitate towards the noble idea, to the elves, to the Starfleet Federation. And sure, Klingons are cool, but how many people want to be a Klingon?
Well, I think there's something wrong with your core premise. The idea that experienced players go to Horde. Well, they wouldn't be experienced unless they already started playing the game. So are you implying that they start as Alliance and then they switch to Horde after they've been playing for a long time?
Yep. And I'm not saying that all of the Horde players do that, but I think from my experience, a majority of first-time players tend to go with the noble idea. Once they've experimented with the game, once they've played a little bit, they'll switch over. They'll try something different. They'll experiment. They'll get better. Now, that's not everyone. I'm not going to say 70%, 80%, but I would say enough do that you do notice. So I find that game designers will make these factions a little bit easier to play for new players. Star Trek Online. You have two major factions. You've got the Federation and the Klingons. So many noobs go Federation. So many. Not that no one picks Klingon first time around, but it's what people know. It's what people think. It's what people expect when they go to the Star Trek franchise. So everyone picks Federation. Then you play. Then you experiment. Then you say, hey, I'm going to try the Klingons. So you would go into a fight and you'd see these crazy, outrageous Klingon players just decimating hordes of dumb Federation. I found a similar thing with World of Warcraft. Like I said, there's always good and bad in both. It's not like everyone...
It's probably just your server.
It could have been.
Because back when you played, they didn't have a lot of cross-realm stuff.
Not really, no.
So your server was probably just dominated. So, for example, my server, all of the high end rating was done on the Alliance, and all of the high end PvP was done on the Horde. And there was almost no PvP on the Alliance, and there's almost no rating on the Horde. My server was actually one of the top rating guilds, one of the top rating servers in the world, and all of the rating guilds were Alliance. Now I would always PvP, and I was on Alliance, and to show you how few people on the Alliance PvP, I would queue for dungeons, battlegrounds instantaneously, and the Horde on the same server would have to wait an hour to get into the dungeon or its battleground.
Now, what would you say the reason for that would be?
Well, because all of the Horde are doing PvP, and very few of the Alliance are doing PvP. So
why do you think more Horde PvP'd and less Alliance PvP? Do you think it was a result of this system got out of control, so Alliance players didn't want to?
No. I think it was just the proclivities of the people on the server. I think I think the people on the server who want to PvP are going to PvP, and the ones who want to do PvE are going to do PvE. And it just happened that the majority of the Alliance on the server wanted to PvE to such an extent that it was one of the best PvE servers in the world. It was like top 10 or something like that. I remember reading that when I was in high school. And the majority of the Horde players on the server wanted to PvP, which meant the queues to get into a battleground on the Horde side were extreme. And the queues were very short for the Alliance, which was very lucky for me because I love PvP.
I never really got into a lot of PvP, a little bit. I was on a PvP server, which means whenever I did run across Alliance players, you would try and kill them. And most of them tended to be really bad. So I can only speak from that one server. I played a few other servers, but not massively.
I never leveled in a PvP server back in Classic.
Awesome.
I'm gonna try that this summer when it comes out.
I would say, even for me, I heard stories of people struggling to level in certain areas, because of ganking, right? You hear horror stories about trying to level in, Barons or in Stranglethorn. You're like, you can't even get. I had no problem, right? By that time, the server was old enough and varied enough, and there were enough other zones to go to, and Burning Crusades had been out for a long time. That it's not that the population was low; it's just there were other places to do the same activities. So I don't know. I'm not sure how it would be leveling in a incredibly competitive PvP server. I found I actually got into more high level PvP than leveling, because that's where all the top level players would go. Right?
Yeah, I much preferred PvP. I never really got the appeal of high level rating. I thought it was too regimented and too boring. But I'm gonna try. Over the summer. When Classic releases, I'm going to try to level a Paladin and raid with him. That's the plan, at least. We'll see.
You played a Paladin before?
Nope. Well, I played a Paladin in current, in BFA. Okay. 120 Paladin. Obviously, it's going to be a completely different experience playing level 60 Paladin. But what I play is a Frost Mage. That's my real character. But I can't justify making a Frost Mage to PvE with him, because I'm going to make him for PvP.
Right.
And because I'm making him for PvP, he's going to level so fucking slowly. Because I'm going to stop at the top of every bracket in PvP for a long time.
Right.
19, 29, 39, 49.
Well,
if I'm having fun, I'll PvP there for a month or two.
If that's why you're creating the character, there's no reason not to do it.
It's the purpose of its existence. Yeah. And honestly, I might get to 49 and just twink them there. If I'm having a lot of fun in that bracket, there's no reason to leave. Because I don't care if he gets to 60, he's not going to be rating.
Right. Is there certain PvP gear that becomes available at 60? I would imagine so.
Yeah, certainly.
More so than in the 49 bracket?
Of course, yeah.
Can you min-max a twink at 49 better than at 60, or would you say it's a more even playing field at 60?
49 has always been like the ideal for mages, because you get your strongest abilities and you have really good gear. You can get a lot of epic stuff for the mage.
So
at 49, you can get like epic trinkets and rings and stuff like that.
Okay.
And but obviously you have better gear at 60. But I guess
That's-
relative to the level, probably 49 might be better unless you get really high-end gear.
Okay.
Which I would if I got to 60. So I never kept track of what rank I was. However, I found out a little while ago that if you got to rank 14 is the maximum rank you could get back in Classic. And it's known as the rank 14 grind. It's almost impossible to do alone. It requires so much PvPing that people would share accounts between like 3 or 4 people, and they would play that character 24 hours a day. But it's because it gets exponentially harder as you go up in rank.
Right.
Now, I never paid any attention to the ranks when I was playing Classic. Again, I was just too young. I didn't pay attention to any of that shit. I didn't pay attention to honor or anything like that. However, I found out in a YouTube video a little while ago that the PvP mounts only become available at a certain rank. I can't remember. I think it was maybe rank 11 or rank 10. And I had the mount. I had the black steed, the black war steed. And so if I had that mount, that means I got one of those ranks. And so that means I was at least rank 10 or 11. So that would be my plan again for 60. I want that black war steed. I think that's awesome. It's like this black horse with armor on it and these glowing purple eyes.
Nice.
Yeah. So, also you get some gear, apparently. You get some pretty decent gear at rank 10 or 11. And so I'll probably go for that as well. But that's it.
But you were saying most if not all of your skills are available at rank 49. So the only advantage of being 60 would be for better gear, but that is also relevant to other people that you're playing against. Mm-hmm. The only reason you want to get higher is bigger numbers.
Well, also more skills.
Oh, there are some extra. Okay.
So I think the ideal PvP build for a frost mage, or for a mage in general, and I've Googled this just like a couple months ago, because I'm like kind of preparing for Classic. And I never did this back in the day, because I actually think that this is against my principles as a gamer. I don't care how other people play my class. Right. I'm going to play it how I think is best. And I don't care what your spreadsheets say. So just out of curiosity, I wanted to look at what people say is the best level 60 mage build, whatnot. I completely disagree with them. I couldn't disagree more. One of the things I intensely disagree with is none of the builds that I saw online go for improved counterspell. And if you're fighting if 2 high level mages are fighting, often whoever uses improved counterspell more effectively is the one who will win most of the time. And if one person just doesn't have improved counterspell at all, they will lose every single time.
Really?
So improved counterspell is so important because it gives you such a hard counter against other casting classes. Wow. So anyway, yeah, that's a little bit of a rant there, but I'm excited.
If you could have a separate level battleground for every individual level, say there was the level 11 battleground, the level 12 battleground, the level 13 battleground, what level would you get your mage to as the ultimate level that you'd be facing other players at that exact same level? So if you wanted to get yours to 51, you wouldn't be in the 60 bracket, you'd be in the 51 bracket. Now that would be impossible to implement, but what optimal level would you say mages would face other players?
I'm not sure, maybe 60.
Okay.
Yeah. There are some classes that have huge advantages at lower levels, like rogues and hunters. Like, if you go into the very first bracket, which is 11 to 19, or 10 to 19, whatever it is. 11 to 19, right? I don't know. Yeah, 10 to 19. Yeah. Rogues and hunters have such a ridiculous advantage because they do an improportionate amount of damage, and they have an improportionate amount of survivability, and the hunter has its pet, and it's just so over the top. I had a level 19 paladin twinked, and it was extremely overpowered. However, a level 19 twinked rogue would sometimes beat the paladin, probably like 50-50, and a level 19 twinked hunter would always beat the paladin.
No, I played paladin myself, and I found there were 2 kinds of rogues. The ones that would kill me instantly, and the ones that I would just kill after about a 2-minute fight.
Yeah, grind them down.
Yeah, if they couldn't alpha strike me, that was it. That was game over. It was just a matter of time until I tracked them down and killed them, unless they could get away somehow. Much the same for hunters. It was similar. Hunters, their ideal was to keep me at range, have their pet pin me down. If I could disable their pet or if I could get in close, I would murder face them. Now, the good hunters would just make sure that I never touched them. And that's what would happen. You know, the good hunters, I wouldn't even get close. If I ever did, it's because they goofed up or they weren't very good. Not because I was playing really well, but because they made a mistake. And if they make a mistake, my paladin would get in there and murder face them.
Paladin. Yeah, hunters get a lot of flack, but there were actually a few that were high quality.
Oh, there were.
The majority of them were garbage, of course.
You could always tell. Like, I mean, hunters, yeah.
Every now and then you'd meet one who really knew what they were doing, and they were really hard to kill.
Oh, and you could tell. And because the thing is I only had a couple of options for dealing with them or shutting them down. If I could do that, if I could get them right, they were done. Much the same for rogues. The rogues had the ability to shut me down and make sure I couldn't do anything to them. And if they made a mistake, yeah, that was it. But I found rogues more often than not. Most times I met a rogue, I was just permanently stunned. I was in a cycle of silence, stun.
It's even more extreme silence, now in BFA, man.
Cripple.
They have like two charges to shadow step. It's ridiculous. Rogues are. I've always joked to my friend back home that the developers play warlocks and rogues.
Well, do you know what?
Because those classes are always so fucking unnecessarily strong. I remember by the end of the Burning Crusade, like a maximally geared warlock, like I would be in a battleground running on my horse, and there'd be a warlock in the distance, and he'd hit me with Curse of Agony. And if my memory serves, I think I had like 20,000 health, or maybe like 14,000. What was normal in Burning Crusade? Shit, my memory's so bad. I thought my memory would get better when I stopped smoking weed when I came to China. No, it hasn't improved at all. It's still terrible. Anyway, whatever my health was, the tick on Curse of Agony would take me down by like 15%. And I would have to jump off my horse and decurse myself, otherwise that one curse would kill me.
Damn.
And of course he's wearing like the highest tier armor for the time, and I'm wearing dog shit armor because I never geared my characters, so I'd be in battlegrounds in like blues and greens and like maybe one or two epic until I had a full set of PvP gear. You
know what the joke goes though? Is what do noobs and rogues have in common?
What?
They both pick locks.
Boom. Good one.
Warlocks were potentially problematic as well. I found my chances against a warlock were moderate. What that would depend on is who got in the first hit. If a warlock gets the jump on me, you're gonna have a bad time. If you get the jump on a warlock, I mean that goes for most classes, but sometimes rogue gets a jump on you, yeah, you're done. Hunter gets a jump on you, you're in for a fight. Warrior gets a jump on you, you're in for a fight. But warlocks especially, because they had so many damage over time abilities, if they were able to get those up before you had a chance to do much, that was it. Like, you were dead by the time you got to the fight.
And a good warlock in Battlegrounds who, they have like macros for all their dots, and you just see there's like 10 alliance characters, all of them with damage ticking away. It's pretty frustrating. I guess it's frustrating from a mage's perspective because of how passive so much of what they're doing is. They press one button, somebody gets hit with a 25-second dot, and then they go on to do other things while that person takes damage.
Right.
Whereas when a mage wants to do damage to somebody, I have to focus on that one person the whole time.
And you've got to kill them. Now, I remember one of the things we're talking about World of Warcraft. One of my favorite things to do, because I played on a PvP server, I didn't do Battlegrounds much, but Okay. You get into a tough situation. The Paladins had this special ability. It was called the Bubble. And you were completely invincible from all forms of damage for
everyone knows what it is. You don't have to
for 6 seconds, which is exactly how long it would take you to teleport away. Bubble Hearth.
Yep, everyone knows what you're talking about.
Yep. And I remember I would do that religiously. Things start going wrong, Bubble Hearth, you're gone. And
still works today in BFA.
Really?
Yep, you can still Bubble Hearth.
Really? Because I played Kata, and I had taken a break for a while, and I came back and I played Kata for a bit, and they nerfed the bubble. They reduced the bubble's duration by 1 second, and that was just long enough that you could no longer Bubble Hearth during Cataclysm.
Man, it's going to be nice to go back to the days when Paladins are exclusively Alliance.
I can see
it really
why,
makes me want to make one since they're exclusive.
I can see why they opened it up to both factions. They wanted to increase playability for both factions. But having certain advantages for... Because it's not like the Horde were denied all accessibility to... They had shamans, right? The Alliance could not get shamans. They had their own mechanics and advantages. You get a lot of this stuff where instead of... Do you want to play Horde or do you want to play Alliance? Well, right now, does it really matter? You're really just picking your race. You're not really picking a faction. You're just picking.
Well, what always did it for me? What always did it for me was the architecture. I think the Horde cities are incredibly unattractive, and the amount of time you spend in cities in this game, I cannot be in the fucking shanty town of Orgrimmar for any period of time. I can't do it. Orgrimmar is a shithole. Undercity is a shithole. They're all shitholes.
Silvermoon was nice. I was a blood elf.
It's a shithole. Fuck it. Bunch of fairy bullshit.
Elves.
Yeah.
Huh?
Pathetic.
The only problem with it is it was usually deserted.
It was much I need the cities to be grand and awe-inspiring. When you walk into fucking Ironforge, there is no city in the game that's as awe-inspiring as that. A giant opening with a giant fucking statue and shit, and griffins coming in and out of that flight path door. And you have that path up the mountain as you're going up. I mean, that shit is just... It's so grand. So that alone allows me to ignore anything else. I don't care if the Alliance has worse players. I don't care if the Alliance is all a bunch of 12-year-olds or whatever people say about them. I don't care. I don't care if they're bad in PvP and PvE. It doesn't matter to me. I'd rather spend my days in Ironforge than in Orgrimmar.
So that brings me to an interesting question. Because I think similar thoughts when I play a game. I think, what do I want to be staring at my screen for 8 hours a day?
Yeah.
Right? And I picked Horde because my friends picked Horde. But I thought much of the same thing. I thought, I really don't want to play this shambling undead zombie thing living in this decrepit city. I went with this cool-looking elf guy. What do you think about people who make a female character? And it's super obvious that they're dudes.
I think there's nothing wrong with that.
Have you ever played a female character?
In games, yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I think there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, some people just do it because they want to stare at their ass. But I don't really think that matters. I think, especially if you go back to classic WoW, the majority of the people that are playing were so young. I mean, I was playing it when I was like 14 or 15 maybe, like just recently 15. And there was no fucking YouTube and whatnot back then. So back then you were making characters based on what they looked like with the assumption that what they looked like affected how they were in the game. Like, I would make a fucking warrior instead, I'd make a dwarf warrior instead of a human warrior because the dwarf looked stronger. I'm like, look at this dwarf, he's fucking built. It's a brick shithouse. I bet he'd be a way better warrior. No, it has no effect. But that kind of stuff doesn't really exist anymore in gaming. Gaming is so much min-maxing now, and there's so much information. A game comes online, and by the end of the week, there's a dozen people streaming it every single day. There's hundreds of videos of it on YouTube. There's entire walkthroughs.
Yeah, guides everywhere.
Yeah, guides
and wikis.
So there's so much min-maxing now that mystery is gone. Could that ever come back? It would require the complete dedication of a studio just to keep the secret. Just to release a game and make sure that nothing about the game is told to the public. And even then, you're still going to have the people who are streaming their play of it. Yeah. So, I don't know if there can be mystery anymore. I think that's just gone. That's not going to exist ever again.
I think with the price for modern games going up, any game that's going to have a serious budget is going to have the money men and the marketing, and they will make sure that information about this game is out there before it's released. It would be nearly impossible for the studio to keep things about their studio secret unless it were a smaller independent studio, and even then they kind of want people to get excited. They want to tell people about it. There is so much competition. They want to say why their game is unique. You don't go... look at the number of early access games. Look at the number of just games in consoles, on Steam, anywhere, everywhere. How do you stand out? You try and make something new, but you need to tell people about it. Mm-hmm. So I agree that would be really quite something, but we're unlikely to see that level of surprise or discoverability from game. No, there's going to be minor things. Yeah, they're not going to spoil the ending of some things. There might be some special perks that only certain classes or races or whatever can unlock, but those are going to be limited and set by certain factors.
Have you watched Getting Over It?
I have not. What's that about?
It's a game about a man in a cauldron climbing a mountain with a hammer.
Yes.
It's like that Rage game.
I've heard of that, actually, yes. Never played it.
So at the end of the game, you go into like a secret area where like a thing comes up on the screen, and they're like, this is your reward for winning the game. If you're a streamer or whatever, please don't show this to anybody. Only people who win the game should see this. That's just impossible. That shit was up there instantly. Now it was a very hard game to beat, so like maybe it took a little longer than your average game for someone to get there. But then spoilers, everyone. What it is in the end is just a chat room. And so when you beat the game, you enter a chat room that you can only enter by beating the game. And you're just in there with all the other people who just that moment beat the game.
Really?
So when you leave the chat room, you can't go back into it without beating the game again.
Huh. How long would you say the game takes to beat? Like, let's say you had beat it before, you knew how to beat it, you were fairly competent at it, and you would say, hey, I want to go again, I want to get into that chat room right now.
I'd say I've seen speedrunners do it in like nothing, like a minute or some crazy bullshit like
really?
that, a ridiculously small amount of time. However, it's a shockingly, absurdly, stupidly difficult game, and so you, the average person, the normal person like us, have no chance of getting better at the game by playing it. There doesn't seem to be any progression of skill for normal folk.
But how long would you say for the average person to beat it?
I wouldn't. You wouldn't.
Really?
Yeah. Like, if I was paying you to sit down and play this game, you wouldn't play it.
Savage.
You would have to pay me an egregious amount of money to sit down and play that game. Like, you'd have to pay me what I'm getting paid now to teach, to play that game, and I wouldn't be able to do it very much. It's really absurd. Like, the game is designed to be as difficult as possible.
Interesting.
And it's not difficult like Dark Souls difficulty. It's difficult like Flappy Bird's difficulty, where the difficulty is from poor controls and uncertainty and the game just outright fucking you from time to time.
Okay. So it's not I made a mistake at this part, next time I'll do better. It's what the just happened.
It's like you play the game for 20 hours and you're still like, how the fuck does this work? Like, why did that just happen? I don't understand.
So as you were saying, experience doesn't correlate to an improvement in skill.
Yeah, not that I can... I mean, it probably does for, like, really hardcore people. Like I said, there are speed runs of it. But for normal folk, no. They probably won't get any better at it as they play.
Now, do you think obviously it's worked for that particular game, and they built their game around being ridiculously difficult. Do you think making your game intentionally difficult is a sound business strategy in this current market?
Yeah, I think there's a whole market for really, really difficult games. Look at Dark Souls, look how well that does, and that game's like fucking masochism. It has to, I don't know, it has to be appealing though. You know, why does Dark Souls appeal to people? Because it has this rich backstory and this awesome world and this lore and everything. I've never played the games, I have no interest in them. I'm not so masochistic. I mean, I play World of Warcraft, so maybe I am, but I do watch lore videos on it. I think it's still, the characters are cool, the heroes that you fight are cool, and the world that you live in is pretty cool. So, on the one hand, you have things like Dark Souls that appeal to people for all those reasons. On the other hand, you have things like Getting Over It with Bennett Foddy, where it's just a challenge, where it's just, you can just say, I did this. You know?
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I haven't played either, so.
Do you like a lot of difficulty in your games?
I like there is a certain satisfaction you get from
playing elves, you filthy casual.
No. From encountering something you get to you optimize. You find, okay, that didn't work, so next time I'll do better. You know, so sometimes you walk in, you walk up to this big boss, you shoot him in the head, he's dead. That's not satisfying. You know, there is something satisfying about overcoming these challenges. But I think it really comes down to, are you using skill, and is the enemy challenging you, or is the enemy just destroying you? If there's an ability that makes this boss hard to kill because he just one-shots you from nowhere, or you're just walking around, or you walk into the room and you have a handicap of, oh, well, guess what? Now your bullets do 10% less damage. Well, that's bullshit. That's
yeah. What's a game that you would say has a high skill cap on it, where you feel you get a high sense of satisfaction by playing a lot more and getting better at it?
Oddly, one of the most satisfying game conclusions that I played was Mech Assault 2.
Don't know anything about it.
And I found you could walk around, you could bumble around, and you could kill some other mechs, and you could get through the storyline. The final fight, however, puts you in your small little mech, and you have to be so intensely conscious of every attack movement that this boss makes. You can only take a couple of hits. You're moving around, you've got to get into these weak spots, you've got to avoid these certain zones. It's not that it's not predictable. It's not move 3 steps to the right, then move 1 step forward. But at the same time, you see him charging up for this attack. You know, okay, I need to move into this area, or I need to get away, or I need to get above him, or I need to do this. And it actually took me a number of tries to beat him, but every time I tried, I could see an improvement in how far I got. I did a little better. I didn't die quite as quickly. I did more damage to him. Oh, I almost made it that time. So I really, really enjoyed the challenge. It made me feel like I was gaining in skill, like I was doing better. I didn't just walk in, shoot him with a couple of missiles, and walk away. Yet at the same time, I didn't walk in, have him shoot me in the face, I die, okay, try again. Oh, okay, well, he just shot you in the face, you're dead. You could take a couple of hits, but he was very strong. You more had to avoid his hits using your skill and maneuverability. I think that was more the challenge that I enjoyed. Not because the boss is so strong, but because I was so good. Not because I was so overpowered, not because I was so strong, but because I played that fight to the best of my abilities, and that's the only way I was able to win.
Okay.
And it was incredibly satisfying. It also helped that it had amazing soundtrack. You know.
One of the games that I just actually played recently, just last year, is Doom 2016. Okay. Incredible. Probably one of the best shooters I've ever played. Top 3 easily. It's up there with like Call of Duty 4 and like the original Halo. Yeah, I'd say it probably goes original Halo, and then probably Doom 2016 is better than Call of Duty 4, and then Call of Duty 4 3. Anyway, that game you really have a sense of getting better at the game as you go on, and of course the game gets more difficult as you go on, so it's really satisfying getting better at it and then meeting a bigger challenge and then better and a bigger challenge. And sometimes the challenge will be something that you could already do just in a different situation. Let me give you an example. Hey, you haven't played it, right?
No.
You should. It's great, and it's real cheap on Steam. And you have a nice computer now, so you should get it. They have these demons called Pinkies, which are like little battering rams. They're like short and fat, and they have lots of armor on the front of their body. They're really, really hard to kill, but you have to shoot them in the back, and they just charge you. And they just run in a straight line. If they hit you, they do tons of damage. And so you have to get out of the way, and you have to shoot them in the back, blah, blah, blah. And then as the game progresses, they give you more and more Pinkies, and they start giving you invisible Pinkies, blah, blah, blah. Oof. However, something they'll do to you is one fight with Pinkies will be maybe out in an open courtyard, and then instead of increasing the difficulty of Pinkies, now they're like, okay, now you have to fight them in hallways.
Ah.
And by that time, you'll maybe have slightly better weapons, but they're constantly varying where you're fighting them. It's really, the game becomes a little bit repetitive when you get to hell, because you get like these hellish, like hell pit kill rooms over and over again. And so some of those seem very similar to each other, but the game is fantastic. It really deserves a play. Everybody should play that game. I'm not even a big FPS guy, and that game was fucking great. And if I had less things to do with my time, I would download that game again and I'd play through the whole thing again.
Huh?
Probably, I can't remember how long it took, maybe like 15 hours to play the game. Going pretty slowly. Like I said, I'm not great at those games. I take them pretty slow. But great game. What's a game where... So you play a lot of RPGs, do you?
Fair amount, yeah.
Fair amount. So what I'm going to say now is, it seems like mainly an RPG thing. What's an RPG where there is some skill to it, but it's almost all equipment based? Now, the skill might come in how to use that equipment, but... So let me give you the example that made me think of this, is the Stalker franchise. By the time you get to the end of the game, your weapons and your armor have made such an insane improvement from where you started the game that your character is like unrecognizable, like in terms of their strength, because there's no like level system, there's no skill system, it's just all equipment. The progression you make in the game is only measured by your equipment. And so in the beginning of the game, you have like a pistol and no armor. And at the end of the game, you have like this upgraded exoskeleton. You can never get tired, and you have these like radioactive artifacts embedded in your armor that give you all sorts of improvements. And you have like amazing machine guns and sniper rifles and Gauss rifles, and you have all these different types of ammunition for them, and you have grenades and grenade launchers and rocket launchers and all this great stuff. Now, you have to learn how to use these things along the way, as well as to learn how to exist in the environment. And I think it creates such a good, there's such a good cooperation in the game between learning about the environment as well as improving your outfit, what you're using, your equipment and whatnot. Because you really need to increase your IQ of the environment around you in order to survive in the game. The environment is incredibly dangerous, which is part of the fun of the game. Learning what will kill you, what won't kill you, how to approach different situations. And the game, for the first time in my life, I've played a game where I'm forced to be cautious. It doesn't matter what game I'm playing. It doesn't matter if I'm playing fucking Assassin's Creed. I never ever choose a stealthy character. I never do things in a stealthy way. I just run straight in because I can't stand playing like that. However, in Stalker, for some reason, it's not like it forces me. It's enjoyable. But they create a situation where being stealthy is literally your best option. It's truly your best option, without a doubt. You could just run right in, but your chances of success are very, very low. Does that make sense? And it makes it sound like I'm saying they force you to be stealthy. They don't. You could just run it.
Big chance of.
But the type of game it is, a perfect example is I went back into my save game a little while ago. I loaded up this end game character who had just beaten the game, and they allow you to go into free play mode. And I'm walking around Pripyat, where you end the game in Call of Pripyat. And I walk behind some building, and I walk into some tall grass, and a this giant mutant, it's called a Chimera, strongest mutant in the game, comes out and two-shots me instantly. Hits me once, because he's running toward me in the tall grass, and I can't see him because of the tall grass. And he lunges, and so as I'm walking through the grass, I get hit, and then he goes flying past me, and I turn to shoot him, and then he hits me again, and I'm dead. So there's no chance for me to retaliate. And that's a character with all the best stuff. I mean, I did a completionist run. The character couldn't be more powerful. And you get two-shotted just like that. Instant death. I mean, that whole fight lasted 2 seconds.
Ouch.
So that's the kind of game it is. It's so quick to punish you for reckless behavior. And so it's not like it forces you to be cautious, but being cautious pays off so highly. So if I had just been cautious, if I had been sneaking around, if I had been looking around corners, if I had been avoiding things like tall grass where you can't see things charging at you, then I would have seen the Chimera from a distance. I would have shot him in the head. And I would have had this sense of satisfaction when I walk over to the Chimera, because I think to myself, wow, this thing could have killed the shit out of me if I wasn't being cautious.
Most games tend to do a fairly good job. Yes, you get more powerful equipment, but the things you are fighting get a similar increase in power and defense as well.
Well, what do you think about level scaling? Things like Skyrim, where everything gets stronger with you.
There's a certain logic to that.
Or Oblivion does that as well, right? Yeah, it does. So, yeah, you can really see in both directions. It's easy to see why, and it's easy to see why not. I think, in my opinion, I would rather have no level scaling, because I really enjoy the idea of being able to go places and really obliterate stuff because you're so much higher level now. Because when you have a game that has level scaling, it almost feels like they shouldn't have any level system at all.
True, but then you run into the situation. I played this one game, great game by the way, Divinity 2, and it was interesting in that it had set monster spawns. There were only a certain number of hostile entities in the game, and you would get a certain number, you would get a set number of experience from killing the set number of monsters, which means you progressed at a very predictable level. So after doing 5 quests and rescuing this person and killing these monsters, the game knew you would be at level 9. And at level 9, you would have access to this skill, this skill, this skill, and you'd be able to fight level 9 monsters. Now, because there were only a certain number of monsters, if you were level 9 and you wandered off the path and you ran into the level 14 monsters before you were ready to face them, before you went and killed the level 10s and 11s and 12s, these level 14 monsters would wreck your shit. And there was absolutely nothing you could do about it, other than to avoid that area until you went and found the other monsters, killed them, leveled your dumb ass up, and then you could go fight these other goblins or whatever. Now, great game, but it really felt like you were going where they wanted you to go. And there's nothing exactly wrong with that, except they presented this game in an open world concept. So you could be wandering around here, exploring over here, and all of a sudden, oh, guess what? You just ran into the level 10 zone. And it's not like you can go back to the level 1 zone and just kill a couple more monsters and then go back to the level 10 zone. Nope. If you don't find the level 9 zone, you'll never get to the level 10 zone. So if you didn't go where they wanted you to go and kill the monsters they wanted you to kill, you couldn't progress in the game. Which was one of the downsides of it. I mean, overall, I think the game was great. as long as you followed the story that they laid out for you.
Did you ever play Diablo?
I didn't.
It's definitely worth playing. I would say Diablo 3 is the weakest of the Diablos, and Diablo 1 is, at least in my opinion, sort of unnecessarily difficult. And it's very old. Diablo 2, Lord of Destruction, is the expansion. That is what my memory at least tells me was the best experience. You should play that. It's very cheap. You can get the game for just a couple bucks, I think.
I think I had a cracked version of Diablo 1, and without the nostalgia of having played it previously or having experience, I would say it didn't age particularly well.
No, it doesn't age
right? Well. I mean, some games don't age well, but it doesn't matter because you either know how to play them or you enjoyed playing them, so you continue enjoying. But to go back and start, I was running around Diablo and it was like, I don't know what I'm doing. The user interface doesn't make sense, and I don't really want to spend the time learning this game when it looks...
Yeah, and it's an extremely long game when you don't know what you're doing. I never beat Diablo 1. Diablo 2, I only beat one of the bosses. It's an extremely long, grindy game when you don't know what you're doing. Yeah.
Which means there's nothing wrong with a long, grindy game, but...
Not necessarily, no.
But... Yeah, if you're going back and it hasn't aged well, there's really no reason to play it to completion or to play it at all. So, how well would you say Diablo 2 is aged? Is it worth playing at this time?
I'd say it's worth playing. I'd say it depends. If you have the urge to play Diablo 3, I would say then it's worth playing Diablo 2. Okay. It's not worth wasting your money on Diablo 3.
Okay.
I think I played quite a lot of Diablo 3. And there's no improvement that I could see other than graphical. In terms of gameplay-wise, I think that Diablo 2 and lore and environment and music and all that stuff, I think Diablo 2 is far superior. All right. Why don't we call that here? We'll do a quick one today.
All right.
Thank you, everybody, for listening to another episode of Bullshit and Video Games here with Jerry. Thank you for coming in again, man.
Yeah, no problem.
All right, everybody. Take care. I'll catch you in the next one. Bye-bye. Do all that good stuff down below. Like, share, subscribe, comment.
How am I gonna find man I'm supposed to be?